Hey YouTube, I thought I'd do a review on Smolov Jr. as when I was researching it myself I didn't see too many reviews, and I'm thinking one more couldn't hurt, especially for someone who was interested in doing the routine, to hear a bit of insight from someone who's done it, what I'd change, what I wouldn't change, what I liked, what I didn't like, and things that I would approach differently using the routine and what to expect. So if you're not familiar with it, it's a 3-week program. I really like the rep ranges. It starts off with 6x6 at 70%, 7 sets of 5 by 75%, and 8 sets of 4 at 80%. Ending on the 4th day of Saturday, 10 sets of 3, which was my favourite day. I think whoever designed this, if I believe it was a Russian dude, when you go on the website, there are certain websites where, because the Russians put the reps first and sets second, so that can be a bit confusing. Make sure you've got the correct way of, when you write it out, make sure you've corrected it yourself. As I say, that I struggled with a little bit because I wasn't reading things quick, slow enough. I was just wanting to write it down and get on with it. I think the way it's been set up is very good. I always seemed about one rep away, sometimes on failure, just about, or 2 reps away from failure, which I think is quite a clever way of setting it up. The 6x6 goes on 70%, and then it works up on increments of 5. So 7x5, 75, 8x4 on 80, 10x3 on 85. On the second week, you're meant to add from 5 to 10 kilo. I don't do pounds. I'm in the UK, so 10 to 20 pounds. I just have to convert it. But for anyone who's in the US, you'd add 10 to 20 pounds to your second week on all of the lifts. So that would be 6x6, 7x5, 8x4, whatever percentage it is of your 1 rep max, you'd add 10 to 20 pounds. If you struggle, say you're hitting failure a rep before the end of the set or 2, just halve it. So if you've added, for example, 20 pounds onto your 70% and you get to the 5th rep and fail, you could try taking £10, or I think that's 5-ish kilo, could be wrong, off your bar, and you can try that. What we're going to do now, I'm going to show you some videos, what I did. The first video is my own fault. I recorded it, but it's terrible footage because I recorded the wrong way. But you can see it in the bottom right. I didn't want to say, oh, you know, just trust me, I hit 120. At least you can see it. So we'll just watch that now. Funny enough, the 120 went up very, very quick. It felt really good. My 1 rep was 115, and I was hoping, well, I mean, the routine doesn't promise, it says around 10 to 15 kilo. I was 115 in a straight up, as you can see, just about straight up. I felt really good. Second was 125. Now it's quite interesting how much difference 5 kilo makes on the bench press. I don't know if you'd count this as a lift, because my arse come out, so in competition standards that would obviously mean it was a failed lift. So it's debatable whether to count it as a PR, but I managed to lock it out pretty quick. I think I'm more tricep dominant than chest. I went to do another one on 125 without my arse coming up. Literally as soon as I pulled the bar off the bench, I felt a shoulder pain in my left. I think it's supraspinatus, and used a bit of training intuition and just literally put the bar back. I was thinking, you know, weighing the pros and cons. Shoulder injury for a lift that, you know, I potentially just had anyway, regardless of my arse leaving the floor. So I started from 115 and I got a 120, and that 120 was quite clean. So that's a definite 5 kilo increase. 125 is debatable. I know by competition standards it wouldn't obviously count because my arse left the seat. So you could probably say a safe bet I hit 122.5. So that would be a 7.5 kilo increase in 3 weeks for someone who's been training about 3.5 years as a bodybuilder, mainly for the first. Well, I've only just switched over to the strength sort of program. It's my first one, so obviously natural. So yeah, so if you want to talk about the pros and cons of the program, I like the pros being the high frequency of the lift. I find the more I do a lift, the more I get better at it technically. A lot of people tend to forget that lifting is a skill in itself. You know, little things like in the squat when I push my knees out, or in the bench press if I arch my back, little changes can make a big difference to the lift. And I find the higher frequency of the lifting helped get you tight under the bar, reinforces good form technique. So obviously, benching 4 times a week is going to really help that. I think the rep ranges were very, very clever. How it just kept you away from failure most of the time. And obviously, it has the promise, well, or the potential rather, to provide a big increase on a bench in a short period of time. I mean, I know 7.5 kilo doesn't sound like a lot, but someone who's been lifting, you know, coming on 4 years, 3.5 years, 7.5 kilo in 3 weeks, in perspective, is quite a lot. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, and I was hoping for 130. I was a bit overzealous, but at the end of the day, I think 7.5 kilo is a good increase in 3 weeks' time. On the 4th week, if you guys can't find it, most of the websites just give you 3 weeks. On the 4th week, there is one website, I can't remember when, but what I did was a mini sort of deload. So you finish on Friday, 10 by 3, and on the 4th week, Monday and Wednesday, I did 3 by 3 at, I think it was 65% of my 1 rep max. And then I did a 3 by 1 on Wednesday at about 65% of 1 rep max. So a nice little deload towards the end. And then I hit my 1 rep max on the so Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I think it was either Friday or Saturday, so I gave myself a little rest. I think, despite everything, because one of the main things I did was run Smolov squat with it, which is kind of a bit of a mistake. I think if you're going to run this program, make sure bench is your main priority. Everyone's recovery capabilities are different, but for myself, I was getting tendonitis, which can obviously, when your body has tendonitis, it's very clever in the fact that it won't recruit as many muscle fibers to protect your connective tissue. So me being in this position a lot with the bar squatting and then going in this position was giving me tendonitis here and here. So obviously I'm not going to be my strongest coming into the bench. I think if I ran Smolov Junior on its own with maybe a little bit of assistance, which it doesn't really recommend because the pure frequency and the rep ranges will expose any weaknesses you have, any weaknesses at all. So, you know, if you're with a friend or if you record it yourself, then you can look back on it and you can see what areas you need to strengthen and mobilise. But I think if you focus on this program solely, you'd get a lot more than what I did. I know a lot of people recommend 200 to 300 calorie increase on a lean phase of bulking. I'd probably go on the higher end on this. As I found personally, I don't know if this is backed by research, that a bench press or any pressing movement is very heavily affected by the amount of calories you have. If I'm having a bit of a low on volume food day, I'd notice it in my pressing or the day before. If I haven't been eating as much as I should, I notice it a lot in my lifts. So the main cons would be it's quite heavy on the shoulder girdle. As you know, I put the lift back on the last one because I was feeling pain right here. And you know, I've been training long enough now where I can differentiate between a training pain and a pain where your body's going, hang on a minute, something's wrong. So I decided to just risk over reward and put the bar back. Heavy on your tendons, especially if you're doing squatting 4 times a week, which I would not advise. I think sometimes I can look at a routine and think, yeah, that's fine, but you know, getting stuck in it is something different. So yeah, guys. All in all, I think Smolov Junior can be very, very effective for you if you make it your main program and if you focus on a lot of mobility. I'll provide a link for you in the description of a fantastic website that gives you a lot of mobility work like band pull aparts, myofascial release on your shoulder girdle, more banded work. I think massaging, you know, if you can afford that, is probably the best thing, because as much as I love foam rollers and, you know, massage balls, I don't think anything can recreate the human hand and the way it can manipulate your muscles. Overall, main things I'd advise for someone who's going to run this is eat lots, make it your main program. Focus on mobility, look after your shoulders, because I think if you neglect your shoulders, something's going to fucking snap. But besides that, it's a pretty cool program. I definitely felt much stronger in a bench press and confident while running this, and I think if I didn't run Smolov squat with it, I would have seen a nice bigger increase. If you've got any questions, give me a comment. More than happy to help anyone. Yeah, that's it. Cheers, guys.